How much faster does a supersonic legend shoot? If you thought, hey, I've heard that title before, then you're probably familiar with a small YouTuber that has tackled this topic already. You should definitely watch his video as it's very entertaining, but in this video, we're gonna tackle what SunlessKhan couldn't? Yeah, couldn't is more correct. Indeed, I happen to have a dataset of 743 players doing a training pack. Even though that experiment was about input lag, there was a warm-up phase to let people get used to the shots. But that means we have 7,430 shots to work with, unaffected by the rest of the experiment. 5 different shots, played through twice by players of every rank, bronze to SSL and even pros. Looking at the RL Season 2 rank distribution, we can see that there are lots of plats, and that is obviously what we see in the experiment data. Oh wait, it seems that the majority of my subscribers are actually significantly higher than that. And since we all know correlation equals causation, you could all rank up 3 tiers simply by pressing that subscribe button. So the first conclusion that we can pull from the data is that 89% of you are making a mistake. But now is actually the perfect time to fix that, because we've just hit 69,420 subs and are aiming towards the next logical goal of 69,420,000 subs. Okay, jokes aside, in this video we're gonna cover differences in shot power, how players generate that extra power, as well as some other interesting statistics. And to help me with that, I got one player from every rank to send me footage as examples. Well, actually 2 pros, because why would I say no to an RLCS player? Enough about that, let's take a look at the first shot. This one is definitely the easiest, as it's just a slowly rolling ball and a simple turn-in. All ranks are able to score this shot more than half the time. The only surprising result seems to come from the pros, some of which I must have caught sleeping on the very first shot of the experiment. Considering there isn't much to do here, you might not expect that players of the higher ranks would be able to separate themselves on power, but that is actually not true. Going from plat to diamond, median shot speed increases by 7 km an hour, and from there on there is an increase of 5 to 6 km an hour per tier all the way to supersonic legend. It may be tempting to think that this is only the result of better consistency. However, we can look at just the good shots with the following idea. Out of 10 shots taken, we look only at the best one. This gives us the 90th percentile line, and as you can see, it shows very similar increases all the way until Grand Champ. Here's what the bronze player said about the shot.
In the first shot, you have a pretty low distance to the ball, and I really don't know how to get that much power from this small distance.
This is not surprising to hear, but what about the higher ranks? Let's take a look at what might be the reason for the lack of speed. So there are 2 main reasons why our champ doesn't get a lot of power. One is the timing of the dodge, which is always a bit too late. I expect this to be because of the tight angle, as this is not a behavior he repeated on the other shots. The other problem is the lack of speed. A demonstration here by Justuszzz shows him holding down boost the entire time. That allows him to hit max speed with the flip just before he touches the ball, resulting in a very fast shot. That confidence and correct judgment is something none of the lower ranked players showed. This bouncing ball is a bit more difficult to estimate for the lower ranked players, but it's very easy for the highest ranked players. The trend line looks pretty similar to shot 1, just every shot is a bit faster. However, there is a significant difference to the first shot. When we look at the 90th percentile line, there is only a 10 km an hour difference from silver to pro. So really, this means you can expect a powerful shot from just about any rank, as players are forced to go faster, and a front flip is a very natural way to shoot this ball. The difference between the ranks lies mostly on consistency, which can be shown through the median line and the 10th percentile line, showing the middle and the worst of 10 shots. Here we can see massive differences between plat and diamond, as well as Grand Champ to SSL. There's not much more to discuss, so let's move on. Shot number 3 is a really interesting one, as players used many different strategies to tackle this one. Dribbling was specifically not allowed in the experiment, as any more than 2 touches would reset the shot. However, 63% of people did decide to go for a 2-touch strategy, the number dropping in the higher ranks. This is most likely related to me requesting people to go for the shots as if it's a real game situation where a defender is coming back to defend the open net ASAP. Justuszzz did shoot as early as possible, while FreaKii did a very fast 2-touch strategy. As we go down the ranks, we see the SSL shooting very early, and the GC taking a wide swerve with a powerful shot. Generally, the 2-touch strategy did allow players to score 5% more, and shots were 6 km/h faster. However, this tiny shot speed advantage will not offset the time needed to set up 2 touches. Unfortunately, the biggest mistake I made when collecting the experiment data is that I neither stored how long the player took until the touches, nor the time of the goal. So I can't tell you those numbers, which would have been very interesting. As part of the interviews, I asked the high-ranked players which shot was the easiest to mess up.
Probably, I believe, the third one, where you have to kind of drift into the ball. I would say that one was hard for me because I would be like too close to the ball and I wouldn't really hit it as hard as I was hoping to.
I would say the third shot was probably the most difficult because it required a complete 180 power slide. I think that's the first one I messed up that I missed on.
The percentage of shots scored suggests that other shots were more difficult for those ranks. However, since I asked them to shoot with power, a weak shot can be considered a failure too, and the power graph shows why they would be so uncomfortable with this shot in specific. Although GCs and SSLs are capable of powerful shots, the averages are poor due to inconsistency. The pros absolutely crush it here with on average 28 km/h higher shot speed than the Grand Champs, and picking their worst out of 10 shots is equivalent to the average SSL shot. Consistency rules. And even though this is the most extreme example, the pros continue to separate themselves on shot 4. Here we have a nice high-speed redirect, perfect for demonstrating shots with a lot of speed. Speed is what the pros showed, with an average of 140 km/h, which is a whole 10 km/h faster than GCs. SSLs were capable of shooting just as fast, but again, the consistency of the pros is unmatched, their worst of 10 shots being almost 30 km/h faster. These differences are still not as big as when comparing the lower ranked players. What did they think about the shot?
The easiest to mess up? Fourth.
If I hadn't done it, I would say the aerial redirect would be the hardest one, but I actually scored that.
The 4th shot, the redirect, I didn't get that one at all.
It was, I think, the fourth one.
The redirect.
Yeah, that one. That one was actually harder.
Definitely the redirect, because if I came at it too fast or too slow, I would just completely miss the ball.
The redirect for me, can I blame my teammates for that one?
Okay, only diamonds and above were able to score this shot more than 50% of the time, and golds and below missed on average twice before they even touched the ball. Even when they did, they seemed to be equally likely to slow down the ball as to speed it up. This shows in the shot power graph, where there's a 10 km/h difference per ranked tier, more than on any other shot. Sunless seemed very comfortable with the shot.
Yeah, I think I got some good power on it. Generally confident.
But it should be noted that on average, even Grand Champs only scored 62% of the time. He also asked me whether he managed to beat the SSL on the redirect. So let's take a look. So we got 94 miles per hour here, which is 151 km/h. Unfortunate. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. That was the silver. The SSL scored with 154 km/h. Not to be too mean to Sunless, he actually performed above average at everything. And even Darth Vader himself admitted,
It was a fluke. I've never done that in game before.
Which shot did the pros think was the most difficult?
I think the last one where you had the aerial. That was like a shot. I would never take that shot like instantly. I would usually double touch.
The easiest to mess up, if you want to hit it hard, is probably the aerial. I think it's the 5th shot. I think I hit the crossbar twice.
Since players were encouraged to get to the ball quickly, pros would hit the ball as early as possible. At the highest point, this is a purposefully awkward aerial. Lower ranks just wait for the ball to drop to the ground and power shot it from there. This is likely the explanation for why the average power doesn't have any significant changes from silver to champ as more and more players start to aerial. The 90th percentile of Grand Champ is actually still worse than that of Plats and Golds, again because a decent power shot will reach those speeds easily compared to an aerial. SSLs know how to get more powerful shots, but they are again lacking on the consistency, which costs them 8 km an hour on average compared to the pros, and 24 km an hour on their worst of 10 shots. Okay, so what did we learn today? Of course we knew that the higher ranks can shoot with more power, but the interesting part is how much. On these shots, it was about 4 km an hour per rank tier, although this varies between simple shots and those that push players to their mechanical limit. In the latter case, you can see a difference of up to 10 km per hour per rank tier. Even though the SSL's best of 10 shots was matching the pros, no rank was even close on consistency. The moral of the story is, if you want to be pro, make sure to hit the ball hard 10 out of 10 times instead of just 9. Join me next time where we'll analyze this video to figure out how many times you can roast Sunless before he stops talking to you.